Welcome to the Alp English Podcast. My name is Nefertari.
And my name is Amun.
Today we travel back in time to ancient Egypt and talk about the rulers called pharaohs.
This episode is for B1 level learners. We will speak clearly and a bit slowly and explain some useful words.
So, imagine the Nile River, hot desert sand, and a huge pyramid in the distance. Let's begin.
First, what is a pharaoh? A pharaoh was a king or queen of ancient Egypt. They ruled Egypt for thousands of years, from very early times until the Romans arrived. The pharaoh was not only a political leader, people also believed the pharaoh was connected to the gods, almost like a living god on earth.
Because of this, the pharaoh had a lot of power. He could make laws, lead the army, collect taxes, and decide how to use the land and workers. But he did not work alone. He had advisors, priests, army leaders, and scribes. A scribe was a person who could read and write. They used hieroglyphics, the picture writing of ancient Egypt.
How did someone become pharaoh? Usually, the pharaoh's son became the next ruler. Sometimes, a daughter or another relative could become pharaoh too, especially if there was no son. When a new pharaoh came to power, there was a special ceremony. Priests put the crown on his head, and the people celebrated. From that moment, he was responsible for the whole country.
The pharaoh usually lived in a palace near the Nile River. The Nile was the heart of Egypt. It brought water for drinking and farming. Every year it flooded and left rich soil on the land. If the Nile was good, people had food. If it was bad, people sometimes blamed the pharaoh. Life in the palace was very different from normal life. The pharaoh wore fine linen clothes, a special crown, and often a fake beard as a symbol of power. He wore gold jewelry, and many servants worked for him every day.
What about normal people? Most Egyptians were farmers. They worked on the land next to the Nile. They grew wheat, barley, vegetables, and flax for clothes. For part of the year, when the river was high and the fields were underwater, farmers could not work on the land. During this time, many of them worked on big projects for the pharaoh, like building temples, roads, or even pyramids.
People paid taxes to the pharaoh. Often, the tax was not money, but part of their crops, for example, some of their wheat. The pharaoh used these taxes to feed workers and soldiers, and to build temples and monuments. So, even if normal people never met the pharaoh, his decisions changed their lives every day.
Religion was very important in Egypt. People believed in many gods, for example, Ra, the sun god, and Osiris, the god of the dead. The pharaoh had to keep peace between the gods and the people. He gave gifts to temples, built statues and buildings, and took part in big festivals.
Egyptians also believed in life after death. They thought the soul continued in another world. For the pharaoh, this was very important, because after death, he became even closer to the gods and could protect Egypt from the sky. That is why pharaohs had such rich and special tombs.
The most famous tombs are the pyramids near Giza. These stone pyramids were built as graves for pharaohs. Inside, there was a room for the pharaoh's body and many objects, treasures, food, clothes, and statues of servants. They thought he would need these things in the next life.
The body of the pharaoh was prepared in a special way called mummification. The body was dried with salt and wrapped in many layers of cloth. This mummy was then put into a stone box called a sarcophagus and placed in the pyramid or tomb. The pyramids are amazing because they were built with simple tools, but with very careful planning and thousands of workers. The pharaoh gave the order, But architects, engineers, and workers had to turn that order into a real building.
Let's quickly mention some famous pharaohs. Tutankhamun, or King Tut, was a young pharaoh. He died very early. His tomb was found almost complete in 1922 with many treasures inside, so he became very famous in modern times.
Ramses II, often called Ramses the Great, ruled for a long time and built many statues and temples. Many people think of him when they imagine a typical, powerful pharaoh. Cleopatra VII was a later ruler of Egypt. She lived near the end of ancient Egypt and ruled from the city of Alexandria. She was very intelligent and is famous for her story with Roman leaders like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony.
Of course, being a pharaoh was not only about gold and power, it was also a heavy responsibility. If there was war, hunger, or bad floods, people expected the pharaoh to solve the problem. A good pharaoh had to be brave, good at planning, and able to listen to advisors. A bad pharaoh could make the country weak.
Now, let's explain some useful words. Pharaoh, a king or queen of ancient Egypt. Scribe, a person who could read and write and worked for the government or temples. Hieroglyphics, picture writing used in ancient Egypt. Mummy, a dried and wrapped dead body prepared to last a long time. Sarcophagus, a big stone box for a dead body, especially a king. You can pause now and repeat these words to practice pronunciation. Let's do a short review. Today we learned that the pharaoh was the ruler of Egypt and was seen as close to the gods. He lived in a palace near the Nile, controlled land and water, and led the army and religion.
We talked about normal people who worked on the land, paid taxes, and sometimes helped build temples and pyramids for the pharaoh. We also spoke about pyramids and tombs, mummies and sarcophagi, and some famous pharaohs like Tutankhamun, Ramses II, and Cleopatra.
If you are learning English at B1 level, you can listen to this episode again, pause when you need, and write down new words. Here's a question for you. If you could meet a pharaoh, what question would you ask? You can write your answer or say it out loud to practice speaking. Thank you for listening to the ELP English podcast.
I'm Amun.
And I'm Nefertari. See you in the next episode.